Good morning, good morning. Good morning. How is everyone doing? Let's hope everything will start coming through soon, that you can see me. It is at the East Coast. Yeah, it is. It is good morning for me too, Jillian. Hi, Al. Hi, Pooja. If you're here, drop how you feeling this morning. Drop an emoji or something in the chat. Let me know how you're feeling. If you can hear me good, if you can see me, then I know that we are getting ready to go. Drop something in the chat so that I know you can hear me and you can see me. Do a thumbs up if you can see me and you can hear me. I'll give it a second. Oh, Ashley, what's the matter? Are you sleepy? Are you sad? I can tell what that face is. It is a good morning. Hey, guys. Heading to work? All the best. All the best. I'm glad you can still join us. Kevin. Good morning, Raquel. Awesome, Kevin. Asante. You know, asante in Swahili is thank you. I don't know what it means in your language. Or where are you from, Kevin? In my native language, Swahili, asante means thank you. Hi, 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 everyone. Welcome, welcome. Say good morning in the chat. Yeah, it means thank you for me too, Kevin. Say something in the chat so I know we're all here and we're ready to go. Because we're going to get right into the content today. I have quite a bit to get through, so I have my glass of water because I feel like I'm losing my voice a little bit for some reason. I probably have had too many late nights. That's what happened to this to my body when it doesn't get enough rest. But hopefully you can hear me. If you don't hear me well, or if I need to put my volume up or anything, let me know, because I can try and put it up, because I'm probably going to be speaking lower than I usually do. Awesome. I'm glad you're all here and you're all excited, because I know that we've been talking quite a bit. Excuse me. I know we've been talking quite a bit about if we don't fit into the hustle culture, what are our alternatives, right? If anybody is watching, is in the chat, who came to the workshop that we did November 5th, give me a shout out in the chat. Let me know if you came to the workshop. Thank you, Sarah. Thank you for letting me know everything sounds good. You will excuse me from time to time if my voice kind of cuts up. But if you have been to the workshop, I did a workshop November 5th. If you came to that, let me know in the chat. I just want to see how many people actually here will be kind of familiar with some of the things we're going to be covering today. I keep looking down because chat is right down here for me. So I'm not ignoring you. I'm watching you and I'm seeing you. So if nobody came to the workshop, that means this is going to be awesome because it's going to be like new for everybody. But if you come later or you're watching a replay and you came to the workshop, leave me a comment and let me know how that went for you, because I think a lot of people had workshop shout out. Yeah, people were having like light bulb moments, right? That it was confirming. Yay, Aisha. Wow, yes, thank you, Aisha. It was confirming. Aisha, wasn't it confirming so much for you? Let me know in the chat. It was confirming for so many people the route that they had suspected were right for them, but had doubts. Okay. Yeah, I understand, Sarah. Sometimes, these things we're having like weird time, and I'm trying to run them live. That's why I'm not having them like a evergreen right now. I just want to connect with people and I see where people are really at. And there are so many things that I found out from last time running this workshop, and we're going to run it again November 17th. So if you didn't make it and you want to come to it again, come again and grab it while you can, because every time the price is going to keep going up to the actual price of $49, but this time around it's going to be only $29 for the 17th. So don't wait until it goes up. If you are in the midpoint, get there. You were there. Yeah, Raquel was there. Excellent workshop. And I think Raquel made a huge progress. And Aisha too. We've been working on that. So everything, all the links for the workshop will be in the description. But right now, I just want to kind of get into today's topic. And I'll try and keep an eye on the chat to make sure that I'm not missing any questions. And I'll pause halfway through to make sure that I'm catching your questions and so forth. So actually today's workshop or today's live stream was really, and I have my notes here, was kind of triggered by something I watched. And I don't know if you guys watch Dragon's Den. I'm from England, so that's what I knew about Shark Tank. Well, Shark Tank is a US version of the original Dragon's Den in the UK. If you know what I'm talking about, let me know in the chat. Or if you're rewatching this, let me know in the comment. But Dragon's Den is one of those shows where people go and pitch their ideas for their businesses, and investors are take it apart to see if it's worth investing. So I was watching one of the investors, one of the dragons, Peter Jones, and he was in a program interviewing Richard Reed. I don't know if you know of Innocent Smoothies. I remember I used to have them when I used to live in England. I haven't had them since I've been in the US, but it's amazing. And I was really amazed to see how huge the company had become. But I was very intrigued by how Peter Jones was questioning Richard Reed's methods. Richard Reed is one of those very creative people. So we would feel very at home with his methods. And if I can find that interview, I'll link it later on in the description, because it was really interesting. And he kept asking him, how are you getting anything done? Because he looked like the way Richard Reed works and how he runs his huge, it's multi-million pound organization, right? And he has very relaxed setting. People are walking barefoot at work. People are coming in their robe. It was actually really fascinating to watch. But it was a very relaxing atmosphere because he wanted people to feel themselves so that they can be their most creative. But that's not something that Peter Jones had ever seen, nor does he believe is the best way to work. And it just triggered something in me, which I think we all can identify and kind of relate to how the corporate world sees business and sees like entrepreneurship and takes it seriously only when it looks like something they're used to. And let me know if that resonates with you, because I think So many of us sometimes have been reluctant to go into entrepreneurship because we think we need to look and behave like the corporate entrepreneurship that we see, and becomes like a really huge block for us. And just watching Richard Reed and the way he worked things triggered this kind of question mark for me personally. And let me know if this is resonating with you guys. Let me know in the chat if this is resonating. But I realized how much sort of corporate people, or the majority of people, the senses, who are not the creative intuitives, struggle to make sense of what creatives are even about, or how they go about even being productive, right? He was actually questioned. I remember Richard Reed was questioned by Peter Jones by saying, how do you get anything done? To them, to him, to Peter Jones, it looked like they would never get any work done because they are so relaxed in the cycle of the way they do things. And he was just amazed how they were making millions working in the way they were doing. So it's very inspirational. I believe that show is very inspirational for creatives like ourselves to see that it's very possible to get things done, but to understand and to work with the way things work best for us. Because I think we're now going to find that in the corporate world. And I think most of you understand that's what you're watching, right? Like, you understand and you're rejecting that hustle culture, right? But you're thinking, well, what's the alternative? How is it supposed to work? I don't even think I can fit into an alternative that can make sense for me. Let me know if that's making sense. Let me know in the chat if you're understanding what I'm on about, that I'm not chit-chatting to myself. and you're all catching this. Give me a thumbs up. Give me an emoji of how, if this is making sense. Thank you, Christine. I'm glad you're loving this. From time to time, I have to keep checking to make sure that we've not been disconnected, or did I read your mind? Ashley, you're so funny. It's amazing because I think as creative people, we can really relate, because we all have kind of the same sort of struggles. So I personally have to check myself too. I have to check myself as well, because I have to keep growing. Thank you, guys. Thank you for letting me know this is making sense. So I think for us, oh yay, I think for us multi-passionate creatives, we recognize we don't want the hustle and bustle kind of life, right? The rise and grind kind of life. But we also really misjudge and misunderstand how we function, and therefore we don't make the best use of it. Can you imagine if Richard Reed had just gone like, well, I can't let people come to work in their shorts and flip-flops and in their robe because they're not going to be productive? Do you think he would have had as many creative people to make as many millions of pounds that he's making? I doubt it very much, because he had to bring people that think different and are more like him to create the culture and the atmosphere that worked for him. But that's very rare in sort of like a corporate world. And I wouldn't even call his a corporate world. I think it's more of like a creative venture, and it's very successful. And so I think as we are rejecting this, and as we are understanding, we're more deep thinkers than we're doers. I remember one of the reports for one of the people that worked with Richard Reed, they kept saying he changes his mind a lot. Like, he will start a project, he will say, this is the way we're going to go with it. Halfway through, he will say, you know what, we need to change direction. And how many of you, let me know in the chat, how many of you think that's a negative thing about you? That you start something and you change your mind? Because I've seen this a lot in the comment section, that you keep thinking it's a negative thing. Hey. Good morning. Let me know in the chat if you feel that aspect of yourself is negative, or if you feel it's a positive. That too, I'll be really intrigued to know. Because watching Richard Reed, he kept saying, no, it's important for me to change my mind, because I need to keep tweaking my ideas and making them as good as they can be, right? To him, he was convinced, and he harnessed without an excuse. So some of the people that worked for him kind of kept saying he changes his mind a lot, and that kind of throws us off. But he kept saying this is necessary because of the creative stride that he was taking. Yes, Christine, sounds like he's intuitive, very much so. So he follows that intuition, where it leads him, he goes, and he trusts that his team will trust him to go there, and he has trusted that. And he understands that that is what he's actually, because Jillian, you're saying it's hard to commit to anything. That's what he's committed to. He's committed to innovation. He's committed to changing and tweaking and pivoting whenever necessary. So he has somehow managed to harness the flow. Like Christine's saying, yes, you follow the flow. He has managed to follow the flow. So most of the time I know that we think that is a negative, but that is actually a real positive. And I loved watching that because we sometimes lack the example of where it's working well, or we don't see behind the scene of how it's working. So like so many times I would change things. Like if you come to my website right now, it's like coming soon because I'm changing things again. And I'm trying things out and I'm not committing to anything yet. But sometimes somebody won't know that just coming to my site, especially if they hadn't been before. They won't know what was there before. They don't know what I'm working on right now. They don't know how many times I've changed my mind and why it doesn't bother me personally, because I can see that it's necessary for me to evolve and grow, right? Let me know if that makes sense. Ali thought it was a negative trait. I hope I'm pronouncing your name like you're being inconsistent. That for me was the longest thing that's what kept me stuck for the longest time. Because every time I wanted to make a change, I thought I was going to look flaky, like I was going to look inconsistent. That's what I thought that was going to look like. And so even just lately that hasn't been the case, but just watching Richard Reed was such a confirmation for me to say, and I really wanted to share with you because I thought, when we are rejecting this hustle culture as INFPs and INFPTs, what are we exchanging that with? And I wanted to run these ideas so that we can see where are we really getting stuck. Does that make sense? Because when we can recognize where we're getting stuck, we can work on that area as INFPs, right? Yeah, you will try different techniques to see what fits. Absolutely. Yes. How do we know if we are not just being decisive? So do you feel indecisive? Do you feel when you're making decisions, you feel at peace, or you feel like it doesn't fit? Because it could be two things. It could be that the thing is not a fit, or it could be a mindset thing, which we're going to talk about it today. Okay? Let me know if you think that's more of like a mindset thing sometimes, or it could be that you're questioning the technique, or you're questioning the strategy that you're applying. Sometimes for me, I recognize, because now I do that, observer thing with mindfulness, and I can see when I'm running narratives in my mind, and I can see sometimes when it's just a strategy is not working, I need to change something. But that's not always easy when we are kind of caught up in the thing, right? Yeah, depends on the perspective. Yeah, being inconsistent and inconsistent even in a word in itself, I think it's a negative thing because it means you don't commit to something. But you could be committed to innovation, which means it's a change, right? So I hope that's making sense. So because we can tend to have several ideas and pursuing them at the same time, we tend to struggle. One of the things that has been coming up lately is the struggle to commit to one thing very, very long term. And as I was sharing with you, that doesn't necessarily have to be a negative thing, so long as it's not a mindset thing that trips you up. And we're going to cover what that can look like, okay? Okay, so most of the time the mistake we're making is we're questioning whether we are making the right decision or not, whether our disposition and the way we work makes sense or not, right? That's what trips us most. And we don't make any progress because we're not innovating forward. So we keep changing our mind and going back to the first step instead of changing our mind, moving forward with the idea. And sometimes that could be because we don't know where we're going. We don't know the end goal. We don't have an end in mind. So when we are making those steps, it just feels like we're trying to find where we're going. Whereas it really is helpful to know where you're heading to know whether you're hitting the mark or where you're changing towards. Does that make sense? Let me know if that's making sense. And if you're watching a replay, let me know in the comment, okay? Do we know where we're going? Let me know in the comment, because I think that adds to the frustration when we're not clear on where we're heading, because the tweaks and the changes and the pivots feel like we're getting lost, feel like we're being stuck, instead of recognizing or deciding, is this me innovating forward, or is this me moving back, or is this me taking a detour? And we talked about this in the workshop. As the INFPs and INFPTs in our careers, we really need to kind of question that. Let me know if that's making sense. Let me know. Yeah, if we don't know where we're going, if we don't have a clear trajectory of where we're heading, so much of our exploring, if you like, can feel like unsettled. And I remember I was watching an interview like a couple of days ago, and this lady, a psychologist, she was talking, yeah, you're feeling stuck. She was talking about this idea of like, even when we're little, we run off, right? We run off and we turn around and we look at our parents just to make sure they're there. They can see us, we're safe. And then when we feel safe, we run a little bit more. And then we look back and we make sure, can they see us? Are we safe? And it's just to make sure, can we still return to where it feels safe? Can we still return to where we're trying to head to? And when we know where we're going and we know where the safety kind of is, our venturing out feels safe, because we are venturing out. It's as though our core is kind of connected to the center of what is meaningful and is constant, and the path that we know we're going. And if we have to venture out, like, you know, like when you have a leash and you're walking a dog, and one of those leash that just detracts goes out and comes back, it's like there's a length that's safe. Go this far, venture out, but you're going to come back here. You're going to walk this path. Does that make sense? It only feels unsafe when we don't know where we're going back to or where we're heading anyway. So if the wandering feels meaningless, it feels like we are just getting stuck and we're running around in circles. Does that make sense? Let me know. Let me know in the comment section that I haven't lost you. Because we can tend to be stuck in what I call the zone four being stuck. I'm gonna just trying to see if I can share my screen with you. I'm gonna see if I can share my screen with you. Hopefully you can see my screen, because I want to show you where I believe so many of us get stuck, and which is what the workshop was addressing. Most of us understand we don't fit into the grind and rise and grind of 9 to 5, right? We get into this like a T-junction. We get into this crossroads, and we have to choose a path that makes sense. And there are many different paths, and really I just summarize them and just kind of call them Route A, Route B, and Route C. And I teach this in the workshop to say this is the place you have to decide on a path. And then I show you what indicators can show which path fits best for you. Once you choose a path, the path can lead further down the road, but what you're finding is as you're going down a specific path, you are not left questioning. Am I going the right way? Because you would have committed to a path. You would know this is the path that makes sense for me, and this is the path that I want to stay on. Let me know if that's making sense. And if you know which direction you're going. I'll wait and see your comments. because the route A for me is the entrepreneurship route, and I call that the baobab style. And those people who came to the workshop will understand what I'm talking about. And it's such a fantastic analogy because it really helps us understand the inspiration, execution, rest cycles in relation to something that we can really clearly see in nature. And I talk about that really clearly in the workshop. And I also talk about a different version of that, which is the bonsai baobab, and how that fits in and what that feels like, so that you can have a clear picture of whether the 9 to 5 is ideal. And I also share about the other path, the midway, and why that and when would that be ideal. So has any of you committed to a path? Because that is a good place to know whether when you're venturing out, it feels adventurous, you do not have a direction. Christine, consider coming to the workshop, because I think when you come to the workshop, you will have a very clear direction that you want to go. Luke Van Der, I hope I'm saying your name right. If you don't know where you're going, consider coming to the workshop. If you can make it, come. You're still in the 9 to 5, Chelsea. You're trying to pivot to route A or B, but not sure how yet. Yeah, that's really the next stage of. And if you've seen, I did post in the community post about a day ago. I was asking because I was questioning, based on what I was seeing, that my sense is sometimes we know the how, but it's the mindset that's keeping us a little stuck. Because I posed a question to say, what are we lacking? Are we lacking strategy, or are we lacking the mindset needed to execute strategy? What's been holding us back the most? CJ, yeah, you're not sure about the route, but you're sure that is not for you. So consider coming, CJ, consider coming to the workshop so you can kind of know for sure, because it helps to know for sure. Yes, Christine, welcome. I would love to have you over. You're on a path I don't like, but because what I was planning to do didn't work out. So that's more of like a pivot. If you know the path you want and you have to do something else in the meantime, that's just a pivot. That's almost like, and I was sharing this in the workshop, that's almost like you go on your GPS, you know the direction you're going, but you realize Chick-fil-A or McDonald's, whatever, where you need to pick lunch is on the other direction. You just enter on the GPS, en route, stop here and then come back here. When we're doing that, we understand we're not abandoning our journey. We're just detouring a little bit to help us on our journey. Jillian, I'm glad you have an idea. You're in the military and just quit your job, Taylor. Consider coming to the workshop so you can have a direction. A direction is really important first, because what you don't want is to go down one route, come back, go down one route, come back, go down this way, come back. That just causes so much confusion and frustration, and it doesn't give you progress. Jillian, yeah, if you're dreading going to another job, I can fully understand that. It's definitely mindset. Yeah, it's the mindset. Yeah, you worry so much. I have a plan. Getting started is more challenging. I really understand that, Ashley. So what I was posing the question in the community tab was to say, where are we really stuck the most? Because I've started doing this workshop to understand the path, because I recognize that is I had to go back and search where was I starting from and where do I see most people I work with kind of struggling with first. Because if you think you have like 10 options, it's very hard to choose one. If you understand this is the path and I can choose different ways to walk this path, it's a very different story, because anything you choose is still taking you forward, is still progressing forward in the way you want to go. Whereas when you don't know for sure, you're going down this way and you don't know if that's a detour or a distraction, right? Any option can kind of look right. But when you know which path you're going down on, when you're presented with an option, you will know, will this add to my path? Will this take me away from my path? It's very easy to then make decisions. And we know we can have that decision overwhelm, right? We can be overwhelmed with making decisions. We can feel like any decision can kind of work. As INFPs and INFPTs, we can kind of see ourselves slide into different options, and that can cause so much confusion, and we can feel really overwhelmed when it comes to making decisions. So as I was making this workshop to show people the direction, my second step was going to show you strategy of how to validate ideas. And I've been working with a few of you from the workshop where we worked on strategy, but we also worked a little bit on mindset, because I realized as much strategy as we can have, the mindset is what drives the strategy. If we have strategy and our mindset is not calibrated to understanding the path we've taken, we'll most likely sabotage whatever strategy comes our way. We'll talk ourselves out of it, self-negative self-talk. We'll procrastinate because we don't know how to live and sit with negative feelings. We'll question the options that are presented to us. We'll question our abilities. We'll question everything about how we work, how we relate to people, and that can really hinder us. Let me know if that is making sense and resonating with you, if you have experienced that. Because I've seen people get to a place where they go like, wow, I'm so inspired, that's so wonderful. And then 2 minutes later, it's like, I don't know, maybe it's not, maybe it's like 2 steps back. It's like 2 steps, I'm motivated, I'm going, and then maybe not, because I don't see myself, maybe because of this, maybe because of that. And then they talk themselves out of when I look at them, I think perfect opportunity. Let me know if you've talked yourself out of situations before because you thought it just doesn't look right, doesn't fit me. This will be confusing. This won't work out. I've tried this before. This, whatever negative self-talk you tell yourself. And sometimes I had to go there. When I talk in the workshop, if you come to the workshop, you hear me talk about this. Sometimes it's the shame. We have tried so many things. We do not want to feel the shame of trying something else and failing. We don't want that. We don't want the eyes people give us of like, here we go again. There they go with their crazy ideas. Yeah. And you don't think you can handle another disappointment. Yeah. So the mindset really is the thing. KY, I would say reach out to somebody. What country are you in? I will leave a link in the comment section after. Look out for the comment section. I'll leave a comment with a link that can be helpful to you, okay? There's always hope. So my strategy had to tweak a little bit because I realized for me to be the most helpful to you is to help people like you and me. We need help with calibrating our mindset first if we're gonna walk a path. NFPs was only created for suffering. I don't believe that because I actually don't feel that to be true for me. I don't know if it's true for everybody else because I think it only feels like suffering when we are trying to. And goodness, if you were in my workshop, you would know how I describe the bonsai tree. And if you were in my workshop, tell me if that bonsai tree analogy does not feel like suffering. Does not feel. Tam, this is why come Black Friday, I am going to be launching a 10-week mindset course. It's going to be a very small group because I don't want to take too many people because I don't want people to get lost in the group. I'm going to make it very focused, very few people. It's going to be 10 weeks, finishing this year and starting a new year, and we're going to be in a different place. This is going to be the most transformative journey yet. Because I do see a lot of you have been asking me, where do we even start? And I'm thinking what to do. I'm stuck somewhere. So I have put a link. I have put a link in the description of this where you can put your name in the waiting list if you want to be notified when the cut opens on Black Friday. And I'll just do first come, first served, because I want to only take a few people. We did a few days. We did a small group, mentorship group, and it went very well. We just finished this week, and to me, that's what resonates the most. I don't want to take too many people because I don't want to leave. Excuse me. I don't want to leave anybody behind. And I want to make sure that everybody comes out of those 10 weeks with a huge transformation. And we're going to hold everybody accountable. So if the transformation of the mindset is the place you're struggling with, consider that. I know it might not be on everybody's budget or in everybody's ability to commit to the time to showing up weekly, because we're going to be weekly doing very heavy work. So I understand that not everybody's in the position financially, not everybody's in position time-wise. But if you are, and this has been made for you, then consider it and put your name in the wait list, in the waiting list, okay? As INFPs, yeah. It's interesting how we can look into all that. So let me know if that's making sense. That what we need first is our mindset to calibrate before we take a journey, because strategy is driven by mindset. Let me know if that's been your experience, because I know personally, if you are an INFP, you are an FPT, I know you are probably a little specialist in many areas. We read a lot, we study a lot, we research a lot, we go and think about things very deeply. So we don't really lack understanding. We don't really lack ability. We don't lack knowledge, right? Let me know if that makes sense. We don't lack Gemma. Gemma, yes, thank you, welcome. She always says, "Oh, I missed her. She managed to catch live." Yeah, so we don't like those things. Therefore, we have to question ourselves, where are we kind of tripping up? Where are we falling short? Where is our struggle? And definitely mindset is a good place to start. Mindset is a very good place to start, because when we can calibrate and learn, especially for us, because we are feelers, we like to feel good to do things. And when things don't feel good, guess what happens? We procrastinate, we don't follow through, we question, we think it's our intuition telling us we shouldn't do it, because most of the time we lack the ability or the discipline to sit with difficult emotions. And if you have watched my video about procrastination, I keep saying it's not about time management, it's not about strategy. It's about sitting with emotions. It's emotional regulation that we struggle with. Yeah, lab rat. Yeah, of attitude and mindset. So consider coming, if you can, to the 10 weeks intensive mentorship program. We'll be doing that. Will be live. That's not recorded. That will be live weekly together for 10 weeks. Okay. So because we are these feelers and we are good feeling type of people, when things don't feel right, we don't really engage. And there are so many things. Growth happens in pain. Yes, Ashley, that has been the most difficult emotion, yes. But growth and progress happens in pains. Let me know if I'm wrong, because I know none of us grow and stretch and evolve without pain. And if we don't learn and don't know how to sit with difficult emotions that may feel painful, and see how I phrase that, it may feel painful, chances are we will bail out of every situation that calls us to sit with a difficult emotion. And if you are thinking, I want to be the wild one that paves my own way, guess what? We're going to face a lot of difficult emotions, a lot of hard and painfully feeling emotions that we have to sit with. And that requires a mindset shift. We have to put that discipline. And that's something I had to learn for the longest time, to get to a place that I can sit with my emotion and feel bad and not trying to get myself to feel good. This idea, what I see out here of only speak positive stuff, I'm sorry guys, I just don't believe it leads to wholesomeness. It does not, because it's almost saying just reject half of you. Reject half of yourself and somehow still be wholesome. I don't know how that makes sense. Let me know if that's kind of resonating with you as an INFP. It's almost saying, yeah, you're gonna feel these emotions, but ignore all that and just kind of focus only on positiveness. That's why I see people do all these affirmations. And if you came to the you came to the group after we did the workshop, I kept saying, if you just tell yourself stuff, nothing is gonna change unless you give your mind proof that is true. If you tell yourself, I'm brave, but you don't give your mind proof you've ever been brave, your mind will never believe it, and it will find so many things to counter the thing that you actually believe. Right? Yes, it's like the whole butterfly metaphor where the caterpillar, forget the proper term, tries to emerge out of cocoon, it hurts terribly, but in the results it's butterfly in its glory. Absolutely. That is really the transformation. Labra, did I understand you? Makes no sense. I'm not sure who you... Did I need to clarify something, Labra? Let me know if you're talking to me or just responding to someone else. Yeah, it says it baffles me, people who go to work every day 9 to 5, soul crushing job, and just justify it. And sometimes it could be that they are formed that way. And if you're in the workshop, if I did a workshop November 5th, I'm doing it again November 17th, and if you have been formed in a way to work that way, it's a beautiful thing. It can work. So we all bring to the table something different. And I think for some people, it's not so crushing because they're able to allow themselves to be molded that way. It's just very hard for INFPs, INFPTs to allow themselves to be molded that way because it's just not in their nature. Some people can, and I think even an INFP can work their mind to a point where they're willingly willing every day. It's hard work. It's possible. But I think most INFPs will not want to be molded that way. But it's not to say one way is better than the other. It's to say what way works best for me, right? Yeah, I'm learning to be more comfortable with being uncomfortable. That is a very good way to put it. Yeah. Yes, absolutely. We can train ourselves to see. Yes, Alexandra, yes, this will stay on YouTube. Yes, this stays on. Okay, no problem. Have a wonderful day, and you can catch a replay if you can't stay. Yes, we need to be, Gemma, you're right. We need to be authentic to our own selves. So the point that I'm driving home today, if you don't know your path, find your path. we can work together through the workshop. I'm doing it November 17th. I've put the registration for that in the description below. If you're watching as a replay, make sure you register for that. If you already know, if you're like pretty certain, I'm pretty certain I know this is not for me, this is for me, and you don't really need the workshop to confirm something, if you're having doubts, come to the workshop first. Because you really need to have that, this is the path, I don't have another path kind of mindset. After that, you'd really need to understand how to calibrate your mind first in order to walk the path that you've chosen. Because if you don't do that, no amount of strategy, no amount of how-to is going to bring the results that we want. I've learned that to be true for me. I've learned that to be true with people I work with. We need to be able to get to a place where we can sit with uncomfortable feelings. We are feelers. We are feeler people, and we are not going to take action, and we're not going to make progress when things don't feel right, and we need to train ourselves to understand what those feelings are. And when we have lived in a world where people have made us question a lot about how we are feeling, we can even be doubting ourselves a whole lot. Okay? So how, Labrador, you're asking, how do I know when my intuition is telling me that something is not for me and when it's just talking myself out of it? That is a very good point. I use mindfulness, and it's a practice that I'm going to be teaching in the 10 weeks that we are going to, be doing stuff together. The cut for that will open on Black Friday, and it's going to be for 10 weeks. And these are the things I'm going to be teaching to tell the distinction between them. Because sometimes I have to question and put them, and I have to sit and use this technique to learn. But I've trained my mind to know to watch myself as an observer and not take on every feeling to be the thing about me, or to just run. How can I put it? So it's almost like it's not a direction. So it's not a director. That feeling is not something that's directing you to do something, but it's giving you information. The discipline is to learn what to do with that information. Okay, Labrat? Which is what I'm going to be teaching. Just because you're feeling the feeling doesn't mean that is a directive. That is not saying this is the direction. It's just giving you information. And we need to learn how to read that information and interpret it correctly, which is what I'm going to be diving deep in 10 weeks. That's not something I can teach in these kind of lessons or even in like a course. That's why I do as an intensive that we meet face to face, because I need to connect with people in that way, because I find that's the best way I can be the most effective, impacting people that way. What else are you guys saying? What about just being in a constant rut? Yeah, I feel like my life with just being here on YouTube, I don't know, a long-lasting way to grow and get productive as I move away from the norm. Sorry if I missed that. Yeah, we covered that a little bit earlier, David Coleman. We covered that a little earlier, that if I showed in the map, if you feel stuck a certain place and you can't choose a path that feels right, then the workshop that I've linked in the description below will be for you. That's what you need. You need to come to the workshop so you can know for sure where you are going. Because when we feel stuck, usually we don't know where we're going, and we're just going around in circles. Or even when we are venturing out, we don't know if this is actually taking us forward or is taking us back. And it's that confusion that just causes so much frustration. Yeah, emotions will change constantly, but doesn't the negative having negate having responsibility. Absolutely. Yes, I understand. Don't know how to read it. Yeah, gotcha. So that's what we need to develop, that awareness and that discipline, which is what I really would love to share in the 10 weeks, so that we can learn and just not have every emotion and feeling that come up to think that's directing us somewhere. We have to learn to read that as information and then know what to do with that information to perceive it correctly, which takes time to develop. That's why I do it through the 10 weeks. instead of like, or like when I work one-on-one, that happens too, naturally, because over time as we deal with different things come up, and that's possible to address. Are there any more questions about the things we talked about today? So we talked about if we're stuck, and let me see if I can just share that quickly for those who maybe came a little bit later. Let me share the whiteboard a little bit. And if we are feeling stuck, where we may be when we're feeling stuck, most of the time we're stuck, which is the zone, what I call the zone 4, where we feel like, well, the 9 to 5 grind isn't for me, but we don't know what else could be for us. And what we don't want is just wandering around, in different places over here thinking, well, what could make sense? Because that just doesn't bring momentum towards anything progressive towards what we want. And this is what I help you do in the workshop, in Career Stability on Your Terms workshop. I have that linked down below. I get to show you exactly how to determine which is the right route for you. And once you've chosen that eliminates the feeling of being stuck, because now you have a clear trajectory of where you're heading. Now, as you are heading, then other things come to play, and I share more about this map and how to progress through it in the workshop. Does that make sense? Let me know if that makes sense. So if you feel stuck, the first thing, you have to know the trajectory that you are heading towards. You have to know where you're going so that you don't feel like you're just going around in circles. If you already know where you're going and you want to commit to a path, the next step is to calibrate the mind so that you can walk successfully in the path that you've chosen. So those are two things, and both of those, there's a workshop and a 10-week intensive that I've linked in the description. But I will leave it open for a few minutes to see if anybody else has any question or anything that you just need a little bit more clarity on understanding why this is important. Because if we're saying the hustle culture is not for us, we are faced with this dilemma, well, what is, right? The hustle, rise and grind is not for me. What am I exchanging it for? And if you catch this late, catch the replay, because in the beginning I do share this wonderful story of Richard Reed from Innocent Smoothies and the documentary he did with Peter Jones from Dragon's Den. And it's a beautiful example of where we get sometimes tripped up when we don't have confidence in what we're doing, and how the people who don't work like us, who are not creatives like us, actually see us. And if we don't have confidence within ourselves to walk that, we can find ourselves questioning and pulling ourselves back unnecessarily. You have chosen a path, but it goes against, Fatma is saying it goes against society belief. I'm afraid if I still choose that path, that it would disrupt my desire for outer peace. How do I alleviate that? So you're really just talking about how you make peace with what you've chosen. That takes practice. The pain of staying untrue to yourself has to supersede the pain of acceptance. And you have to ask yourself, when you want people to accept you and have that peace with them, are they accepting you, or are they accepting a version of you? You will still feel rejected, dejected, alone, and not at peace with yourself, because you will recognize that you're putting a front, it's not really you. And the fact that everybody is at peace with you and resonating with you, they're resonating with a version that you have put forth, and that is not you. That's how I would read that situation. Because if I'm putting a front to relate to somebody and they are very happy to relate to me, inside it will confirm that if I show them my true self, they will not relate to me. So inside myself, I will not have peace. That's how I will see that. Justin, I'm glad that makes sense for you. Yes, Ali, self-doubt can be very frustrating. Yes, if we have chosen a different way of existing, that can be very hard. Yes, I have an entrance exam in December. Is there any workshop after that? I don't know. I really go by what I feel led at each time, depending on how my energy level is. 10 weeks is very intensive for me. I know that I will not be able to offer it at that price I'm offering it for the Black Friday at any other point in the year. Will I run it again next year? Most likely I will once I've recovered. I'll probably run it again. It just won't be at the same price. That's all. Signed up for the workshop. Can't wait. Wonderful, Tam. I'm looking forward to have you there. That's a good question you're asking, Fatma, Blue Lotus. You've chosen a path and you're trying to figure out how much and when to collaborate with others. You want to elaborate a little bit more, Bex? And maybe I can kind of weigh in if you want me to. Collaborating with others is helpful. We have to know when to bring people in. That's very, very helpful. I'll tell you what, when I started my entrepreneurship, I just thought I wanted to experience everything and do everything myself. I was a crazy person because there were days I would not sleep, wake up in the morning, work again, will not sleep. I was 20 and listen, I was in my 20s. What did I know? I had energy. Okay. Now in my 40s, no way am I doing that. And now I've understood what works well for me and what doesn't. Where's my strength and where's not. And so I've learned to bring people in places that I know I struggle. So I'm very long-winded. For example, I'm very long-winded. I can tell stories through analogies. I can tell stories through other stories. I struggle to put my point across in very few words. To be very concise in very few words is not a strength for me. So writing copy in a very short and small, concise way, I have to tell my ideas to someone for them to put it that way for me. So I know, for example, that is a definite a place I always bring somebody in because it's just not something I do well. But I love to tell stories through creating spaces. I can create an atmosphere in like decor-wise. I love that. I love telling stories through analogies. It just makes sense to me. I love telling stories through what somebody else is going and kind of connecting, bringing patterns together. That's how I can communicate well. But writing copy, So I bring people in for that. Or doing my taxes, get a CPA. You have to know where your strengths lie. And as much as I love numbers and I keep very good numbers, I still bring somebody in for specialized areas. The Baba path is right for me, but I know that I cannot do it alone, especially the practical and technical details. Your answer is helping. Okay, good. Yeah, we do need to. I know, for example, my first invention idea, had I had someone technical to bring that forth, that would have become something, I think. Maybe not. Maybe it was a lesson. I don't know. But we have to know as INFPs where we can bring people in, where they can help us. And I know I've shared in the recent video, and if I can remember in the replay, I'll link up here the four traits that kind of keep us stuck. And one of those is we believe because we're so creative that we shouldn't bring people in to because it will dilute our creativity somehow, or it will dilute the authenticity, right? And that can be a huge downfall for us if we don't watch for things that are strength, but we're probably taking it too far. Yeah, we have our own moral standards beside the way, the way we were raised. Absolutely. So does anybody else have any other questions? Otherwise, if we don't, then we are done for today. And I hope that drove home for you. I hope that gave you ideas. If you don't know where you're going, is this SAPA word? Sign up for the workshop. It is in the description. Sign up in the workshop so you can have a clear idea of where you're going. That has to be the first step. You have to commit to a path to know where you're going. And in the workshop, we demonstrate it very well so that you can see clearly where you're supposed to go. So sign up for that. That's taking place November 17th. I don't have any future dates yet. I just take it as it comes because I like to run them live. Ashley, thank you. Thank you. I'm glad you guys, found this useful and found this helpful. Was it helpful? What was your biggest takeaway? I kind of always like to learn that. I like to know what was your biggest takeaway? What was your light bulb moment? Because that always is edifying to me too, and kind of go like, oh, I didn't see it that way. Because I feel like when people bring in different aspects, it helps me see different way of looking at things too. Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you all for joining me and being here. This was awesome session. I felt like we're all connecting in the chat and finding things that make sense. And do go to the comment section after and let me know what was your biggest takeaway, because I would love to know that. Go to the comment section. If you have a moment before you head out, go to the comment section and let me know. Leave me a comment. Leave me a comment in the comment section and let me know what was your takeaway, because I know sometimes we need to think through and think, what was my biggest takeaway? What was the thing that I really can use to from here on? Okay, so go in the comment section and leave me a comment of what was your biggest takeaway. Know your strength and bring others will not dilute your creativity. Awesome, Bex. Awesome. Thank you guys so much. Feel free to also leave it in the comment section, because I know when we end this, the chat will probably stop, but leave it in the comments, because I would come back and read it after and respond on there too. And if you do feel lost, come to the workshop. If you need your mindset calibrating, ending 2020 strong, beginning 2021 stronger, then come to the 10 weeks intensive. It's a group mentorship. Okay. Thank you guys. It was awesome. Remember, focus on being than doing. It's what we always focus on here. All right. Hope you all want to have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.